Power, once tasted, rarely remains still. It demands more. More control, more certainty, more dominance. And in Zaronga, King Bushalami had begun to answer that demand with something far more final than persuasion. The desert no longer whispered, it obeyed. Village by village, tribe by tribe, resistance was being erased. Chiefs who once stood proudly before their people now knelt in silence, or did not stand at all. Those who refused to bend were made examples of, their fates carried across the sands as warnings rather than stories. Bushalami had crossed a line from ruler to enforcer, and he did not look back. To him, unity built on fear was still unity, and fear was far easier to command than loyalty. Under the relentless gaze of the sun of endless witness, his forces grew more organized, more disciplined, more dangerous. What had once been scattered tribes were now becoming something else entirely, a single force moving with one purpose. And that purpose had a name, Tyre. Bushalami saw it not as a kingdom, but as a beginning, small, strategic, and unprepared for what was coming. Scouts were sent, routes were studied, supplies gathered. The desert itself would become his weapon, harsh, unforgiving, and deadly to those who did not understand it. The attack was no longer a thought, it was a certainty, waiting only for the right moment to fall. But while the desert hardened into action, far away on the calm waters of the Salt Isle, Queen Senyl remained caught in something far more subtle, yet equally dangerous, a decision. Dalat's words had not faded. If anything, they had grown stronger, shaping themselves into visions she could not easily dismiss. She began to see it not just as an idea, but as a future. Herself standing not as the quiet queen of an island, but as a ruler whose influence stretched across lands and waters alike. Two kingdoms, one legacy, a crown shared through bond, not conquest. And within that vision, there was something even more powerful, a version of herself she had never fully allowed to exist, stronger, greater, remembered. For a moment, it did not feel like ambition, it felt like truth. But truth, she knew, was rarely so simple. With every step she took toward that thought, another question followed. What would her people say? What would become of the Salt Isle's identity? Would unity preserve it, or quietly erase it? And though Dalat had spoken with confidence, promising control and balance, she could not ignore the weight of history. Promises had once built the First Eastland Union, and promises had also destroyed it. She stood on the edge of decision, seeing clearly what could be gained and what might never be recovered.
In Tyre, however, the tension was no longer about uncertainty, but direction. King Aaron was moving forward. Plans were forming, discussions deepening, and the possibility of striking Mandev still lingered, strengthened by the confidence that new alliances would soon support him. But not all within his court shared that confidence. Sir Bear did not. He had watched quietly, listened carefully, and now chose to speak with a clarity that cut through ambition. He did not question Aaron's intelligence nor his vision, but he challenged his timing. Mandev, even in its moment of rest, remained one of the strongest forces in the Eastland. Its walls still stood, its soldiers still trained, its strength had not vanished, it had merely paused. And to Sir Bear, that made it even more dangerous. He urged caution, not retreat, but preparation. Strengthen Tyre first, fortify its defenses, build endurance before seeking expansion. Because a kingdom that reaches outward without securing itself risks losing everything. His words were not driven by fear, but by understanding. Yet understanding does not always win against ambition. Aaron listened, he considered, but his eyes were fixed on something beyond caution, opportunity. He believed moments like this did not wait, that hesitation could cost him everything he had prepared for. And so the court stood divided, not in loyalty, but in vision. One saw danger, the other saw destiny. Across the Eastland, the balance was shifting. In Zaronga, force had become law. On the Salt Isle, peace stood at the edge of transformation. And in Tyre, the line between strategy and risk grew thinner with every passing moment. No battle had yet begun, but something far more dangerous had already taken shape: irreversible choices. And once they were made, there would be no turning back.